بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم. Dear brothers and sisters everywhere, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today inshallah we're going to resume our reflections on Surah Taha, and we have reached Allah saying وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى وَهَلْ أَتَاكَ حَدِيثُ مُوسَى, and has there come to you the story of Musa. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins to tell his messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam the story of Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam as an example of the care he takes of those he chooses to hear his message. And the story of Prophet Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam appear more frequently in the Qur'an, even more than those of any other, of any other messenger, including Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this history is told in the Quran in episodes, and each of which corresponds to the overall theme of the surah in which it appears. If the interrogation or question is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, know that it is a figure of speech and not a genuine question. And what is meant here is not a request for understanding, ma'adallah, because the news that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes from his Lord. So everything that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has, it comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how can he question him sallallahu alaihi wasallam? As you ask your friend, did you hear what happened yesterday? You are building anticipation for what is to come. It makes him curious about what happened. And the hadith that's news about him, whether revealed or not, as if you told someone the story of Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So, did you get this story? Here is what I'm saying. إذ رأى نارا فقال لأهلهم كثوا إني آنست نارا لعلي آتيكم منها بقبس أو أجد على النار هدى. When he saw a fire, he said to his family, wait, verily I have seen a fire, perhaps I can bring you some burning brand therefrom, or find some guidance at the fire. This happened on the road between Madian and Egypt, near Mount Sinai, when Prophet Musa was returning with his wife after completing the term he had agreed with his father-in-law, Shu'aib. And this agreement stated that Shu'aib would give him one of his two daughters in marriage in exchange for 8 or 10 years as his assistant. And he most likely spent 10 years before deciding to return to the country where he grew up with his wife. And the children of Israel, Prophet Musa's people, were subjected there. So he was traveling with his family, and he was returning to Egypt after being away for more than 10 years. He was traveling with his wife when he became disoriented on the road on a cold wintry night, and he became lost on the way in that severe weather. As a result, he made camp between some mountain passes and mountains that were covered in snow, sleet, dense clouds, darkness, and fog. He began to try to start a fire with a kindling device he had with him, as was customary back then or during these early days, in order to produce some light. However, it wouldn't light anything, and even stopped emitting sparks. While he was in this state, he noticed a fire on the mountainside. People who lived in the desert would normally light their fires on high ground so that those traveling at night could see it, find their way to it, or come over to it for a welcome and hospitality, as well as directions to continue their journey. Prophet Musa then told his family the good news, saying, إِنِّي آنَسْتُ نَارًا لَعَلِّي آتِيكُم مِّنْهَا بِقَبَسٍ. Verily, I have seen a fire, perhaps I can bring you some burning brand, a flame from a fire. And this demonstrates how dark it was. So it was both cold and dark. Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam requested the burning brand for himself and his family as well. They were strangers who didn't know anything about the area because the route was unfamiliar to them. So what should Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam do with his wife, his young son, and his servant? They desperately need fire, either to stay warm in this bitterly cold weather, or أو أجد على النار هدى, or find some guidance at the fire. This means someone who can point me in the right direction. And this demonstrates that he got off the road. They were cold and disoriented. When Prophet Musa saw the fire, he said, either I will find someone to guide us to the road, or I will bring you all some fire to kindle with. But the question that needs to be answered here is, why did Prophet Musa decide to return to Egypt? Why is he returning to Egypt after fleeing there, after killing an Egyptian who was arguing with an Israelite? After all, he had found safe haven with Shu'aib, his father-in-law. So why would he leave that safe haven and return to Egypt? Human homesickness. Human homesickness is used by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring Musa to the location where he would play an important role. And that's life, c'est la vie, as they say in French. We are motivated by feelings, passions, aspirations, hopes, and memories. But these are only the outward manifestations of the desired outcome. They are what we see on the surface. But beneath them is a will that no eye can see. It's Allah's will, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He is the Almighty who does whatever He wills. Furthermore, Prophet Musa was raised in the palace with the people of Pharaoh. He lived a luxurious life, a very soft and comfortable life. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to prepare him for the great mission and magnificent task that lay ahead of him. He was forced to flee not just the palace, but the entire country, Egypt. He went to another land, a faraway land, to tend sheep and live among ordinary poor people. He was led to see another land, another civilization, another society and community that is vastly different from the one in which he previously lived. He went from a very soft life to one that was harsh. So by caring for the sheep, he was training to care for every member of his believing community. And by leading a harsh life, he was to experience this kind of life in the same way that he had experienced the soft and luxurious life of the palace. All of this was done to prepare him for the job and the mission. And we must remember our Prophet Muhammad's words. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال ما بعث الله نبيا إلا رعى الغنم. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, Allah didn't send any prophet but shepherd sheep. فقال أصحابه وأنت? His companions asked him, did you do the same? فقال نعم كنت أرعاها على قراريط لأهل مكة. The Prophet ﷺ replied, yes, I used to shepherd the sheep of the people of Mecca for some qirats. And this hadith can be found in Al-Bukhari. So it's an authentic sahih hadith. Thus, we see Prophet Musa ﷺ on his way back to Egypt, getting lost in the desert with only his wife and possibly a servant by his side. فلما أتاها, and when he came to it, this is in reference to the fire as he approached it. نودي يا موسى, he was called by name, O Musa. The address is expressed in the passive voice in the original Arabic text with no reference to who or what made the address. A voice called out is how we say it in English. We don't know where this address came from, its direction, form or nature, or how Prophet Musa heard or received it. There was simply a specific address and it was received as such. We accept that this has occurred without questioning how, because that's how Allah accomplishes His business subhanahu wa ta'ala. The one who calls him knows him completely. That's why he calls him Ya Musa, and he that as long as the situation remained that way, the good in him would exist. And Musa began to be reassured about the source of the call and feel comfortable with it, and search for the source of this voice, not knowing where it is coming from. فلما أتاها نودي يا موسى إني أنا ربك verily I am your Lord. You are in the presence of Allah Almighty, who is speaking to you and addressing you. He removed the wonder and amazement in his soul at what he saw and heard, and he knew it was from Allah Almighty. So he felt reassured and looked forward to seeing more wonders. And we notice in his saying, Inni ana rabbuka, indeed I am your Lord, that Allah, when speaking of himself, uses the singular pronoun, al-mufrad, damir al-mufrad, Inni ana rabbuka, indeed I am your Lord. And when speaking about his action, subhanahu wa ta'ala, he uses the plural pronoun, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. Indeed, we sent it down on the night of decree. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ. Indeed, we revealed the remembrance. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَرِثُ الْأَرْضَ وَمَنْ عَلَيْهَا. Indeed, we inherit the earth and those on it. So, why did he speak of the creation? Why did he speak of the action in the plural? While calling us to declare his oneness and do not associate anyone else with him in any way. They said, talking about himself necessitates monotheism at Tawheed, as in, indeed I am God, there is no God but I, so worship me and establish prayer for my remembrance. However, in the action, he speaks in the plural form because the action requires multiple qualities and various capabilities, such as a will to do it, the ability to implement it, capabilities, knowledge, and wisdom. So, when it comes to doing something, all of Allah's attributes come together. That's why the plural form is used here. And they say in the Noon, in his saying, نزلنا الذكر, we send down the remembrance, and نرث الأرض, we inherit the earth, that it is the noon of glorification, noon التعظيم. And Prophet Musa was addressed with the word الربوبية, إني أنا ربك, الربوبية, meaning lordship, to console Musa and comfort his heart, because lordship reflects giving and provision and sustenance. So addressing him with the term your Lord, that's the one who takes care of you and raises you, and he created you from nothingness and provided you all that you have. And he didn't say I am God, I am Allah, because al-uluhiyya or divinity entails commissioning, worship, and restriction of movement by doing and not doing this. And the Almighty, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inni ana rabbuka, indeed I am your Lord, not the absolute Lord, because the messengers are all different from creation. They have a special upbringing. As the Almighty said, وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَى عَيْنِي, that you would be brought up under my eye, and وَاصْطَنَعْتُكَ لِنَفْسِي, I made you for myself. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala educates the messengers in a manner appropriate to the task at hand and the mission they will undertake. فَخْلَعْنَ عَلَيْكَ. So take off your shoes. So remove your shoes. You must not walk in the valley where Allah's presence is manifested. Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib and others of the Salaf said, his sandals, were made from the skin of a donkey that hadn't been slaughtered. It is also said that he was only told to take off his sandals out of respect for the blessed spot. The first command is to take off your shoes to show humility and fear. And this is because إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى, you are in the sacred valley of Tuwa. So remove your shoes so that you come into direct contact with the atoms of this blessed dust. A recent example is what we see in the Prophet of Allah's city of Al-Madinah, Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, where we see people walking with barefoot. One of whom says, I may come across the Prophet of Allah's place with my feet. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. إِنَّكَ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى, you are in the sacred valley Tuwa. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas said, it's the valley's name. The name of the valley is Tuwa. And this is simply mentioned to provide more context for the story. And it has also been suggested that it's a figure of speech derived from the command to put his feet down. It's also said to mean doubly sacred, and that Tuwa is something with repeated blessings. However, the first viewpoint is correct, that it's the name of the valley, and it's similar to Allah's statement, إِذْ نَادَاهُ رَبُّهُ بِالْوَادِ الْمُقَدَّسِ طُوَى, when his Lord called him in the sacred valley of Tuwa. Dear brothers and sisters, here we come to the end of this episode. Until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.